Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I formally declare open this Submissions Committee meeting of the Colac Otway Shire on the 13th of May 2025. Opening prayer. Almighty God, we seek your blessing and guidance in our deliberations on behalf of the people of the Colac Otway Shire. Enable this Council's decisions to be those that contribute to the true welfare and betterment of our community. Amen. I'd like to start this afternoon by acknowledging the traditional custodians and lawmakers of this land, their elders past and present, and welcome any descendants here today. Please be advised that this meeting is recorded and live streamed with the exception of confidential matters. This includes the public participation sections of meetings. The live stream recording of this afternoon's meeting will be available on the website as soon as practicable. By participating in open meetings, individuals consent to the use and disclosure of information they share at a meeting, including any personal and/or sensitive information. I note that all councillors are present. Confirmation of minutes. I propose that we move to confirm the minutes of the Submissions Committee meeting held on the 8th of April 2025. Do I have a mover? Councillor Hudgell, seconder. Councillor Howard. We'll now put that motion to a vote. All those in favour? Councillor Potter, Councillor Hudgell, Councillor Buchanan, Councillor McGregor, Councillor Douche, Councillor Howard, Councillor Shrams. Carried 7-0. Thank you. Declarations of interest. Are there any? Mr McNeil.
Through you, Mayor, I've declared a conflict of interest in respect of this the rate and revenue plan, as on the basis that my partner's made a submission to the process. I don't have any role in the decision or the preparation of the report.
Thank you, Doug. No other? Nope. Move on to the verbal submissions from submitters. Council appreciates the community submissions on today's agenda items and values the effort put into both written and in-person contributions. Councillors review all submissions thoroughly and find them very useful. Today, people can restate or highlight parts of their submissions. I'll now read the names of registered speakers. Please, hang on a sec. So there's 3 items for submissions today, and I'll read through the list of all submitters for all 3 items. So if you could just raise your hand if you're here. Graham Costin, thank you. Graham Hill. Okay, thanks. Sandra Gray. Barney Gabby. Elizabeth Ryan online, I can see you, thank you. Robert Williams, thank you. Jade Forrester. Oh, thank you. Are you speaking for yourself? Thank you. Leona Noonan, Graham. Shane Minahan, thank you. That is all, thank you. So we'll move now to the officer reports on the agenda. 5.1, the draft 2025-29 revenue and rating plan. We have 4 speakers to this. Mr. Costin, thank you first.
Thank you, Mayor. Graham Hill is an apology from the Apollo Bay Community Voice, so if you agree, I'd like to just combine my submission with the submission from the Voice. That way we'll get through it quicker. Okay, thank you. The Voice has prepared a presentation here. It's only 6 slides, and would like to say thank you for the opportunity to present. on their submission. And we don't want this submission to be seen as against the farming community, but by the nature of the organisation, we need to represent across all our members, and most of our members are residential members, and that's where the concern arises. In a nutshell, we don't see the benefits to the farming community outweigh the cost to the non-farming community, in particular the residential community. We see that the proposal will reduce the availability of long-term rentals also. Thank you. Next slide. In terms of why Council is proposing this, we picked up on a line that said there was a disproportionate increase in rural farm valuations compared to others. But when we looked into the data over 5 years and over the last year also, and these are figures that have come from the council budget documents, we can see that the farming increase in valuations increased by roughly the same amount as the residential balance of Shire. So roughly the same amount, so there didn't seem to be a disproportionate increase compared to the balance of Shire. Next slide, thanks. Looking at it another way, we looked at where the rate burden was going, or how the rate burden has increased over time. And again, we can see that the rate burden from farming properties has increased by roughly the same amount as the residential balance of Shire. So it seems there is not a disproportionate increase in farm rates there. And when we looked at the percentage of contributions compared to total contributions over 5, or back to 2016 actually, it showed that the contribution from the farm sector has been relatively constant at 22 to 24%. And the proposal this year will drop it down even further. You can see on the last column, the proposed change will actually increase the rate burden on a number of areas except for the farming community, and the rate burden on the residential balance of Shire actually is 6.4%, which is roughly double the area of comfort which the state government has set in its fair go rate cap. Thank you. Next slide. So we see that the 65%, the proposal for a 65% farm rate differential reduction is unfair to other rate categories. In Colac, for a $600,000 median house, rates will go up by $217. There's 238 at 2,380. And in Apollo Bay, median house prices are higher, of course. Median house is $920,000, and rates will go up by $235. And if we look at regional benchmarks at Surf Coast, Golden Plains, Corangamite, we can see that Surf Coast are keeping their farm rate differential at 75. So for a similar priced house in Colac, their rates will go up only by $74. In Golden Plains, they've got an 87.5 differential for farming, and actually a higher differential for intensive farming, which seems a good idea. And Corangamite are sticking with 87%. If we accept there is a need in the farming area, the farming sector, we should compare this back to the COVID drought of tourists along the coast. And there was petitions for rate reduction at that time, but there was no actual rate reduction given. There were other benefits, there were grants, and there was deferred interest payments and other sorts of things, increased marketing of the area, which didn't pan out very well because the COVID drought of tourists went on for a long time. And in previous rounds of looking at the rate and revenue plan or strategy, there was consideration of the lower socio-economic groups and how they would be impacted by the proposal. And that was one of the reasons why farm rates didn't decrease in the past, is because of the impact of the increased cost of housing for these lower socio-economic groups who don't have the same ability to pay as everyone else. Next slide, thanks. So it seems to the Voice, and to me also, that there's little benefit from the proposal to farms, but there's a high cost on the residential side to those who pay rates on houses. The proposed $198 reduction per farm assessment, admittedly farm assessments are amalgamated, but $198 per farm assessment is about the price of a big, good quality round bale of hay at the moment, so one bale of hay. It's not going to do much for the individual farming sector. There'll be no real economic benefit arising from that. No, won't motivate any change in the farming sector to be more efficient. And it'll probably have little impact on farm viability over the longer term. On the other side, this results in higher costs for residential properties, but there's no corresponding increase in residential services. They'll just pay higher costs and get no additional services for it. And the coastal economy, as you know, is mostly dependent on tourism. So if there were to be any flow-on benefits from assisting the farming sector, very little of that would flow to the coast because it's mostly dependent on tourism rather than agriculture. Thank you. Last slide. So to summarise this, we see 65% farm differential rate is economically inefficient. It doesn't do much. There's been no demonstrated economic benefit. I would have expected to see some economic assessment to show that it was a good thing to do. It will decrease the availability of affordable housing. It'll move along the coast, it will move people away from long-term rentals to short-term rentals, which is something to be avoided. And it will deter essential workers, key and essential workers, from actually living in the municipality. They will go and stay in somewhere like Winchelsea, which has got a growth plan at the moment to increase its population by about 8,000 people. So it will be doing things to attract population to Winchelsea. So in a housing crisis, in a council-declared housing crisis, and knowing that the availability of affordable housing has decreased by half over the last 5 years, and the Gardner Foundation's statements that the real need for farms, dairy farms in particular, is for housing for workers, we don't see that this proposal will deliver any better outcomes for the broader community, So thank you for the opportunity to present on this. It's, we can agree to disagree as we move along, but it's great, it's fantastic to have the opportunity to present. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks for your submission. I'll just call again Sandra Gray. Did you come? No. Barney or Gabby? No. Thank you.
No questions?
No questions.
Thank you.
I have one if I may, Mayor.
Yeah, quickly.
Thank you. Sorry, Graham, thanks for the presentation. You state that you're concerned that this might push people towards, or landowners towards short-term rental. I've read a differing opinion that it will push people away from having short-term rental. Can you just explain why you hold that view about this may push landowners or building owners towards short-term rental?
I think as costs go up, the holding costs for a property, which is a second property, you look for better ways, more more lucrative ways to actually use that property. And there's little doubt that putting it on the short-term property market will earn you more money than a long-term rental. And I guess that leads also to the question of what's the Voice's position on the increase in the differential for rental properties. And the Voices, we've given our opinion on that. But for those properties which are being operated on a commercial basis, not properties which are holiday homes, first holiday homes, but for those commercial operations which might have 2 or 3 or more houses which they're putting on the Airbnb market, we believe that should be a level playing field, that they should be taxed or rated on the same basis as commercial accommodation providers. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for your time. Thanks. If that's all the submitters on this that have come, we'll move on to the next. Hang on. Yeah. So there's a officer recommendation in the report, councillors. Does anyone wish to move that motion? Councillor Potter, is it to be seconded? Councillor McCrickard? Councillor Potter is the mover.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. Councillors have received a number of submissions in relation to this particular item, and I thank Graham for coming up from Apollo Bay to put to councillors his view and also represent the Apollo Bay voice. And as the motion says, this will be considered by councillors when considering the budget.
Thanks. Councillor McCrickard, seconder.
Yeah. Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, likewise with Councillor Potter, it's a great opportunity for the broader community to be part of the decision making, and all submitters, their contribution is certainly welcomed. So thank you to the Apollo Bay voice, and we'll take on all considerations. Thank you.
Thanks. Any other councillor wish to speak? No, right, Apollo. All good. We have a motion before us. We'll now put to a vote. All those in favour? Councillor Potter, Councillor Hodger, Councillor Buchanan, Councillor McCrickard, Councillor Dews, Councillor Howard, Councillor Schramm. Motion is carried 7-0. Thank you, councillors. We'll just, a couple of councillors have another appointment, so we'll just have 2-minute adjournment while they pack their stuff and before we move on to the next item on the agenda. Thank you. All right, thanks for that. We'll resume the meeting. We'll move on to item 5.2. 378, 386 Murray Street, Colac. Construction of a convenience restaurant, Hungry Jack, signage and alteration of access. We have 5 people who have requested to speak to their submissions. Firstly, online, Elizabeth Ryan, can you hear us? I'll have to unmute.
Yes, thank you, Jace.
All right, thank you. You've got 5 minutes. I'll throw it over to you. Thank you.
Thank you. And any apologies for background noise. We've actually got our road being slashed at the moment, so very exciting. Also, I'd like to thank everybody for the opportunity to speak today about the proposed development. Has anybody got any questions about my written submission?
No,
Nope.
if
Okay.
you want to speak to it first, that's fine. Thanks, Elizabeth.
It's pretty detailed. I grew up in Colac, if you weren't aware of that. And I've actually realised my nana lived in Lygar Street and we didn't even walk to her house from Dunoon Street. It was just too dangerous back then, that intersection. And I don't believe anything's changed. I think my written submission is very detailed, but I'd also like to point out that road safety is paramount. And I've looked at some documents that the Colac Otway Shire has produced over the years, especially one by Connell Wagner, the 2007 structure plan, talked about having a significant landmark buildings on the west entry to define the entry to the CBD. And I think that's really, really important that we also look at the livability of the area. We know it's the fringe of the CBD, the environmental, the smell, the noise, the light. I didn't realise how much Colac stunk when things are cooking in Colac till just recently. I've been told about it, but never really experienced it firsthand till just recently. The livability is also, there's no factors about the demolition / construction of this on this site. Is there a time curfew as well? The average for like 5 vehicles a day being needing to access the site. The time and size again of rubbish bins, the delivery trucks, etc. A curfew is really important. That only got the time slots that were noted were only given to us at the presentation, not formally in the written document. So I think that's something that council needs to investigate further, please. The Connell Wagner structure plan also identified the importance of lake access. And I know that there's signage there in Murray Street directing traffic from the west to go Armstrong Street. So that's just going to be another factor that we've got to consider, that people are trying to get around Colac. The location, the lack of the pedestrian crossings at the intersection was also identified in your 2013-2023 structure road safety plan back then. I've got the document here, people aren't sure about it. And I'm also, and Road Safe Otway was actually involved in getting that document done back then. The interesting thing is the traffic data is limited about Murray Street, and it's not current, and it's basically 4 years since Midfield Meats first bought their B triple, which is 85 tonne and 34.2 metres through Colac. My request is that council really considers what their legacy is going to be about this intersection. It can't have the full size impact of a convenience store at that location. Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you, Elizabeth. Thanks for your detailed written report as well. Does anyone have any questions or take it as read? Thank you. So we're all received and read. Thanks, Elizabeth, for tuning in.
Thank you.
Thank you. Robert Williams, thanks. It's out.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Councillors. My name is Robert Williams. I'm a Senior Associate Planner at Human Habitats. We represent the permit applicant for this proposal. Thank you for the opportunity to speak this afternoon. As you're aware, it's a Hungry Jack's convenience restaurant that we're proposing, 40 seats. It's to operate 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
I'll just interrupt you, Robert.
Yes.
Just having a little bit of trouble hearing you. If you just speak a little bit closer into the microphone.
Okay.
Cheers.
All right. Is that better? Oh, there we go. Okay. So in terms of the proposal, it's a 40-seat convenience restaurant. It's to operate 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The access is from both Murray Street and Armstrong Street. A planning permit's required for the use. So not required for the use, sorry. However, permission is required for buildings and works, the signage and altering access to the road in the transport zone being Murray Street. We've reviewed the objections received. We're aware of the community input and their concerns regarding potential amenity impacts, the car parking provision, access, the road safety around the intersection, and potential issues around waste management and litter. We attended the consultation meeting with those objectors, and it was very well attended, which we're very pleased to see, and discussed these concerns with them. And following that, we went away and discussed it further with our project team. And in response, we've circulated some amended plans to the council planning department, along with an acoustic report which confirms that the 24-hour operation is possible and we can reduce the amenity impact to acceptable levels. It's through a 2.1 metre acoustic fence along the south boundary, restricting the waste collection and the delivery times to the day and evening periods. We're willing to reduce the signage size and the mount. And the illumination of the signage is able to be controlled in accordance with the Australian standard. We're also willing to provide a solid 1.2 metre high fence along the drive-through to block potential headlight glare. In terms of the access, both the Department of Transport and Planning and Council's infrastructure teams have reviewed that. They're satisfied that the intersection doesn't need to be signalised, that the access provided is safe and appropriate. We believe that the site is a good location for this use, that the proposal is designed appropriately in accordance with the relevant planning controls and policy, and it will contribute to the economic growth and local employment in Colac. We expect this business to provide 50 to 60 jobs to the community, and through the design, through the additional changes that we can provide, potential amenity impacts can be managed so neighbours can still enjoy their properties. Thank you.
Thank you for the submission. Any councillor? I have a brief question. You mentioned, and I'm not here to have a debate or anything, it's just a question you don't have to answer if you don't want to. The intersection's a big concern, as you would have heard and read in your meetings you've had.
Yes.
If, even though the Department of Transport have said that there doesn't need to be an alteration, if minor alterations were to be made to make it safer in line with community expectations, is it something you would consider and have a conversation about?
Certainly willing to have the conversation. It would depend on what extent of those works. Look, this is one site of an intersection that everyone would benefit from. It would be onerous for just this property to deliver a signalised intersection. It's a multi-million-dollar project. Whilst Hungry Jack's is a national business, it is a site-by-site basis. Every developer should be considered in the same way. If we're talking about a crossing or some additional signage or traffic calming, that's something that we can definitely look at. But from our perspective, we have ticked the requirements, the planning boxes, as cold as that can sound, we're working within the requirements, but we're also more than willing to continue to work with council and the community to get this to somewhere where everyone is generally comfortable. Yeah.
Yeah, sure, thank you. Councillor Potter? Yep.
Thanks, Mayor. Thanks for your presentation, and thanks for your consideration of some of the concerns that people have raised, especially around the emission of lighting, the fencing and all the rest of it. There's probably still some ongoing concerns with some neighbouring businesses about the use of the laneway, but from my point of view, it does appear that you're willing to try and keep working through those issues. And the Mayor's point about the traffic is well made, in Murray Street is well made as well. But can I just ask you specifically about some car parking to the east of that block, where there are some commercial businesses present, and the businesses across the road, the chemist shop and so forth, some people do park on the south side of Murray Street and cross the road to the north. A dangerous occupation, that is, doing that. But will you have another look at the impact on those car parking areas for those existing businesses, just to make sure they can continue to have their customers park in that vicinity?
We have considered that, councillor. The car parking I believe you're referring to is to the east of our front on Murray Street. Unfortunately, it's unavoidable that one car space would be deleted to allow for access into the property. We're not able to shift the crossover or the driveway further away from that boundary, but we are removing several crossovers on the Armstrong Street frontage, which provides a net increase, I think, at least of one on-street car space. So whilst not in exactly the same location, we believe there's comparable parking still under this proposal.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So just in terms of the laneway, we're not impacting that use of that laneway or the access to it. We've got no interest in using it. That's why we've got our own crossover to Armstrong. Yep.
Thank you. Thanks for your submission. Thanks, Robert.
Thanks.
Next, I'll invite Sarah Osman up on behalf of Jade Forrester, and then you can stay and talk to your own.
Good afternoon, Mr Mayor, councillors. Thank you for hearing both from Jade and I today. In the nature of transparency, both Jade and I are employees of Colac Otway Shire Council. I personally have sought advice, and as I have no part in the decision-making process of this application, it's not considered a conflict of interest for me to submit an objection, and I presume Jade would have also followed the same advice. So Jade's submission was what she would like to raise is in regard to the process and to rebut the applicant's dismissal of her belief that the council has an obligation to consider its own health and wellbeing plan in making planning decisions, as the two are not mutually exclusive. The council has to adhere to its own health and wellbeing plan, and the fact that this decision being made under the Planning and Environment Act does not contradict that. She also referred to the definition of health in terms of planning, as our planning scheme for Colac Otway makes multiple references to healthy. She sought advice from the Victorian Planning Authority as to if there was a specific planning definition for health, but it is a dictionary definition of health, so not specific to the planning scheme or the Planning and Environment Act. At the objectors meeting, Jade requested and was advised she'd be provided with the applicant's advice from the Department of Transport about the number of traffic incidents at the intersection, and also the notes from the meeting, given that minutes weren't taken. Neither has been provided, and she feels that that is a lack of transparency of community concerns, as she had intended to share those documents once received. Also, since the objectors meeting, community consultation about a draft plan for the city centre has commenced. There is a glaring contrast between the gentrified vision of the Civic Health and Rail Precinct plan and the Hungry Jack's proposal. On the one hand, the council appears to want to make our city more pleasant, attractive and affirming of good health, and on the other is considering an application to add another cheap and nasty junk food building with all that goes along with that. There are already too many junk food establishments with their ghastly signage and tacky design aesthetic in Colac. The council should be consistent in its strategic approach in planning and must take a holistic view of this application. I note that the Civic Health and Rail Plan covers an area that sits just a couple of streets away from the current proposal. The Hungry Jack's proposal abuts some lovely old buildings against which the juxtaposition of a junk food behemoth would be jarring. So that was Jade's submission.
Thank you. And
And mine?
yes,
Okay.
Sarah Osborne.
That's me. My family own the property located at 392 Murray Street, which is on the corner of Armstrong and Murray, and on the same side of Murray Street as the proposed development. The proposed building in a 24-hour-a-day, 7-day-a-week operation of a convenience restaurant with the lights, sound and traffic associated don't fit in with the character of that section of Murray Street. While the applicant has undertaken necessary acoustic, lighting and traffic tests, there is no question this type of business will adversely affect the amenity of our property and livability and privacy within the residents. While I understand our residents' borders a commercial zone, the business that previously operated at the site and all surrounding businesses operate within ordinary trading hours. To jump from this to a fast food chain open 24 hours is a significant change to the amenity of the area, which must be taken into consideration in the decision-making process. In December 2023, Council granted an application for a development which includes hotel accommodation and function space. This application was similar in that it was a business in a commercial zone backing onto a residential zone. Part of the debate from councillors in granting that application included it was a proposal from a local developer and the business provided broader accommodation options to support growth in Colac, would attract visitors to the region and was quite different to anything currently in Colac. None of these factors apply to this application. In fact, the business offering just adds to the list of fast food chains currently on offer in Colac. Perhaps council could consider attracting much needed accommodation to this site in Colac. In March, this council unanimously endorsed the organisation to apply for a Vic Health grant to support communities' access and prioritise the consumption of fresh food. The grant would create a community partnership which will transform 1.5 acres at Colac Secondary College into a regenerative farm, creating food security, food system change and improved health and wellbeing. In that report, council were told of the significant health challenges underpinned by high levels of socio-economic disadvantage in Colac Otway. Adding another cheap, fast food option is not in the best interests of the Colac Otway community. We are a community that only 7% of adults meet vegetable consumption guidelines, 58% of adults are overweight, and only 37% of adults meet fruit consumption guidelines, which is the lowest level in Barwon South West. Their marketing doesn't state the salads are better at Hungry Jack's. This proposal will negatively affect well-being of its residents, amenity of my property and appearance of a beautiful tree-lined section of Murray Street. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Any councillors? No. Thank you for your submission and on behalf of someone else. Sorry, Elizabeth, are you going because you can't speak?
Yeah, I'd like to speak for a minute quickly because
sorry,
I've just been
Elizabeth.
sent
No.
via email, just like now.
No, sorry. Elizabeth, no. I'm going to have to cut you up. So you've had your
No,
chance.
but it's not fair because I've just been sent more information about this proposal just now from your officers, from Wendy Bell. That's really unfair. How?
I'm sorry, Elizabeth. I can't have you speak. Thank you. Thank you. I'll now invite Graham Noonan up. Thank you.
Yeah, my name's Graham Noonan. I live at 40 Armstrong Street. Just like to acknowledge that I do realise I live next to a commercial land, and I'm not against progress. I'll start with the fence. I'm on the south boundary. That I've got a lane beside me, and Hungry Jack's is going to be beside the lane. The original plan did not have a fence up at all, and then we had a meeting on the 8th of April, and with their acoustics report, they come up with a 2.1 metre fence, which I said at the time it's not high enough. I've got an elevated lounge room, and I'd be looking out over the whole of Hungry Jack's, and they'd all be looking in at me. And the developers said at the time that they'd look at going higher, but as I just heard then before, it's 2.1 metres, which is unacceptable to me. The lane, it's a service lane, council service lane that hasn't had no work done to it for a lot of years. I'm not sure who's meant to maintain it. Our council used to lay gravel down once a year, but now they just run a grader over it. It's built up high and there's no drainage to that lane. Water runs into my place. Used to run into Ball and Son too as well with the brick building there. So that lane needs major work. That lane is a busy lane. Just this morning, I'm a shift worker, so I was home this morning. That lane had 7 trucks go down it this morning. 6 of them were courier trucks, and one Phil Lang had a delivery of water tanks, which they have to back down the lane because it's a dead end lane now because Calvert's have taken over the bakery, so you can't drive right through. So some trucks have got to actually start in Armstrong Street, and actually they've got to back in instead of driving in because there's nowhere for them to turn around. And that's only 2 to 3 metres border from the Armstrong Hungry Jack's entrance. So it's going to be very close. And plus my driveway's right beside that. So you're going to have 3 driveways within 5 metres of each other. The traffic of Armstrong Street South's a lot narrower than Armstrong towards the lake. The traffic, the plan, I think they just lifted off the developers lifted a plan off from somewhere from many years ago. I don't think there's been a proper traffic management report done, but I did note that the council put some ropes down last Wednesday or Thursday. So obviously someone's collecting data at the minute to count how many cars and trucks are using Armstrong Street. The developers said that, like with McDonald's, their drive-through, well, I mean, they turn off left there and they go to a roundabout, which is all commercial land all the way along till it gets to Skene Street. And it's only a short run down towards the lake, whereas Armstrong Street, with all the new developments, goes all the way down to Ullaby Road or further. And it's got numerous access streets that feed into Armstrong Street, which makes it a lot busier than what Grant Street is. The actual traffic management, the drive-through, concerns me a little bit. That I looked at the plan and they meant to turn out into, once they go through the drive-through, they're meant to turn out into Murray Street, which is going to be a very dangerous occupation. And people travelling towards Warrnambool are going to try and get out into the middle. If not, they're going to double dip and have to go back down Armstrong Street, and all of a sudden you're turning Mark Street into a lot busier street than what it is now. And also, all they have to do is block and go back up Armstrong, up Jennings and back down Scott Street. So it's going to be hard to get out of Hungry Jack's with the traffic the way it is at the moment. And I looked at the drive-through, and to me, looking at the plan, there's nothing stopping them from double dipping, and they'll come out of the drive-through and then turn back and go the other way and then try and access off Armstrong Street. I thought there might have been a culvert or something there to stop them from, but I can't see that in the plan, to stop them from joining the drive-through line going out onto Armstrong Street. The acoustics report I dispute because I don't know how you can do an acoustics report with 2 big sheds. So you're standing inside a big brick shed. I don't know how you can test the sound from inside a big shed. So I do dispute that. In finishing, I've been a shift worker all my life, and Colac's changed. And I knock off at 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, and this is going to be the only shop in Colac that's going to be open after 11, 12 o'clock at night. Actually, inside the building, it's going to be open, so you don't have to be Albert Einstein to work out who's going to be sort of gathering around it at them hours of the night. Because even now, when I walk home, I walk to work every day and walk home. Colac sort of changed. You'd be very surprised the sort of people getting around at weird hours of the night. But so just in finishing, I really am concerned about the noise. I understand it's commercial right next to me, but there's a difference between commercial 9 to 5 as the 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days of the year. It's a little bit different than 8 to 5, which it used to be. Also, I'm concerned about the lighting. Will the lighting go into my house at all? With the acoustic report being done when there's 2 big sheds there, am I going to be sitting on my back veranda listening to orders? Because my house, my bedroom's 15 metres away from the car park, so it's not that far away at all. But in finishing, thanks for your time, and probably the last couple of things is the smell, obviously the cooking smell. And I spoke to a real estate agent the other day, and he actually did think that our house prices will suffer in the immediate area. But thanks very much for your time.
Thanks, Graham. Yeah, you're right.
Oh.
Thanks. Very good. That's the last of our speakers, councillors, on that issue. The officers have a recommendation in the report. Does any councillor wish to move that motion? Councillor Hudgell, seconded. Councillor McCrickard. Councillor Hudgell, would you like to speak? Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Thanks, Mayor. First of all, I would just like to say thank you to everybody that has made a submission. There's a lot of time that goes into these, and I really appreciate all the detail that you've put into it, whether it's been a written submission or you've been here today. So thank you to Graham and Elizabeth, Sarah and Robert for attending today and taking the time out to come and speak to us. Your contribution is not just appreciated, it's a really essential part of the process, and especially to a new councillor like myself. So thank you very much for all your time.
Thanks, councillor. Councillor McCrickard, seconded. No. Any other councillor wish to speak? No. We have a motion before us. Councillors now put to a vote. All those in favour: Councillor Potter, Councillor Hudgell, Councillor Buchanan, Councillor McCrickard, Councillor Shrams. Carried 5-0. Thank you, councillors. We'll now move on to item 5.3, 95 Barholm Lane, Maroon, use and development of a land for a dwelling. Shane Minahan, if you'd like to come up and talk, thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm here to speak about the proposal we have for a house to be built on the land that we're currently growing cherry trees and Christmas trees. Just a bit about my experience. I've got 27 years experience in the Christmas tree industry, and I sort of understand what customers want when purchasing sort of high quality Christmas trees. I began selling Christmas trees back in 1998 for a friend of mine in Melbourne on weekends, and then in 1999, after relocating to Geelong with my family, we established a tyre importing business, and in that business we had space to sell Christmas trees, and so I continued selling Christmas trees in Geelong. Then over the next 5 years, the Christmas tree business grew from a retail into a wholesale, then we expanded into an online store, and from that time on the business actually tripled in size. And that necessitated us to get involved in growing our own trees, and that sort of helped us maintain supply and quality. By 2007, we partnered with 3 growers to cultivate trees under our own quality standards. and which was an important move because that ensured our tree quality and supply. Then we sold the retail side of the Christmas tree business in 2021 to one of these growers, and have since been seeking suitable land to restart the operations, and this time focusing on local farm sales, Geelong-based retail, and a wholesale supplier. And we actually sold our tyre business in 2016 after 13 successful years. The farming intensity and the need for an on-site residence, we anticipate spending 70 to 80% of each month on site due to the high demand of producing A-grade Christmas trees. Living on the farm is essential to the efficient management and volume of work to maintain the product quality. Like producing an A-grade Christmas tree will require shaping 3 times a year, and the sustained nutrient management over the 3.5-year growth cycle of the tree. This level of care demands on-site presence. We currently are growing 13,000 Christmas trees, and 20 cherry trees have been planted on the site already. And we're in the midst right now of, once we start getting some rain, in the progress of planting another 13,000 trees and 160 cherry trees, which our goal is by 2027 we'll have 50,000 Christmas trees there and 300 to 400 cherry trees. The farm operation, we have to prepare the soil, spraying and removing the grasses and weeds, ripping the ground to enhance the water absorption and root penetration, and mounding the beds for optimal planting conditions. Our annual plant will be 13,000 trees per year, and that will be every year ongoing. And then we'll have 4 years of rotation of trees there. And then we have to prune the trees. It takes 3 people 3 to 4 weeks for each session of pruning those 38 to 40,000 trees once they're planted, and then we clean off the stems of the seedlings after about 6 to 8 months, and then we've got the pruning and maintenance of the cherry trees on top of that. Yeah, the harvest time of the Christmas trees, in November we do a light prune in November. The main harvest is late November to mid-December, with the final harvest being about the 20th of December. And then post-harvest in January and February, we remove all the roots. We rip all the roots out of the ground, and that takes about 2 weeks. Our cherry trees, our cherries will be fruiting late November to early January. We have 4 varieties planted there. We've got Stella, Lapin, and Bronze, and Bing type cherries. Security and the crop protection. Theft is a ongoing thing. Having an on-site residence will deter theft, which is a real risk due to the high retail price of Christmas trees. They cost $100 to $120 retail these days. Pest control, rabbits, hares, and deers are now becoming a threat in the area. We have kangaroos on site, but they're of minimal impact. And then there's the diseases that both the cherry trees and the Christmas trees get, and getting onto those quickly is important. And there's a fair bit of general maintenance that we have to attend to. And then employment, we'll be employing two staff from next year onwards for help pruning, and then when the harvest season comes along, there'll be 4 to 6 people employed for 2.5 to 3 months annually, plus short-term labour throughout the year. The house that we intend on building has got 2 separate bedrooms to house the staff, and the tourism component of it, we plan to introduce a pick-your-own Christmas tree and cherry tree experience, aligning with the region's existing tourism offerings. This will provide valuable agri-tourism destination and enhance the local economy.
Thanks, Shane. You've gone a couple of minutes over.
Thank you.
Are you nearly done?
Yep.
Yeah. All right.
Oh, I've just got one more paragraph.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. In closing, my family and I and myself are extremely passionate about the farm, with 2 of my 3 sons assisting when possible, with my wife Wendy giving us great support in the background. And I think there's a copy of the presentation and the farm plan that's already been lodged, and I hope I've conveyed a picture of our operation to you this afternoon, and trust that operation is successful. And having a house there will certainly add to the success of the operation.
Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
Any questions or take it? Do you have? Yep, Councillor Potter.
Thanks, Mayor. Just in relation to your previous operation in growing trees, did you have people living on site at that location?
No, I didn't have. No, there was no one living on site at those places. No.
Thank you.
No other. Thank you. Oh, Councillor Buchanan.
I think it was a terrific presentation, and I think it's a very worthwhile use of farmland at producing a product that's supported by Christmas. So
Yeah.
I guess it's for a small amount of land, it's a pretty brave venture, I reckon. Well done.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I've certainly got the experience to do it, and we're certainly looking forward to sort of carrying out the whole operation. Yeah, we're just right in the process now of planting the second rotation there of trees, and I'd invite the councillors out to have a look at the land if you so see fit.
All right. All right. Thank you. Thanks for your presentation.
Okay.
That's it, councillors. We have an officer recommendation in there. Would anyone like to move the officer recommendation? Councillor McCrickard, is it to be seconded? Councillor Potter. Councillor McCrickard is the mover. Thank you.
No, thank you, Mayor. Look, just following on from Councillor Buchanan, thank you for your application and the work that you've put into your submission here today. There's a lot of work in Christmas trees, and it was good to hear all about it today, so thank you for sharing it and informing us. Much appreciated.
Thank you. Councillor Potter is the second. Any other councillor wish to speak? No problem. Mick, write a reply? No. We have a motion before us, councillors. We'll now put to a vote. All those in favour, Councillor Potter, Councillor Hudgell, Councillor Buchanan, Councillor McCrickard, Councillor Schramm. Motion is carried 5-0. Thanks for your time. You can, just sit there and watch the end of the meeting if you like. It's okay. That's all right. So that concludes our submissions committee meeting of the Colac Otway Shire. Thank you, councillors. Thanks to everyone that submitted today and those in the gallery. I now declare this meeting closed at 3:58 p.m. Thank you.